appreciate you watching this video today. We put a video out probably been a month ago now about this bow right here, PSE Mach 30. Loved the bow, shot great. The bow build was quick and fast and simple and easy, but I just kind of built it with stuff I had laying around. So now we're going to kind of come back and do a upgrade, if you will, with some things that I've ordered specifically for this bow. We're going to put some Palmetto precision strings on this bow. Love these strings. They are great and they're consistent and they don't stretch. You know, everything you want about strings. Palmetto precision strings, give them to you. This is the third set of Palmetto precision strings I put on a bow. They just work, they're awesome. So if you're looking for strings, reach out to Palmetto Precision. We did a podcast together not long ago. Really cool podcast, really cool guys. So check those out if you're looking for strings. We're gonna put a pair on this and then we're gonna throw on these other upgrades, and I think you're gonna like some of the new upgrades we're putting on this bow. All right, so I'm gonna try not to make this a video just about string swaps because there's a lot more that's gonna happen with this, but I do wanna show you a few things that I've kind of gotten to learn over the years, especially like with a string swap. I really like where my peep and my knock point are. So on these current strings, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna measure this distance with a dial caliper from the center of, do the center of the peep to the top of my hard knock, or my actual D-loop. So the top of my D-loop to the center of my peep, I'm gonna lock that in. It's like 5 3/4. So when I put the new ones on, once I establish this knock point, I can measure up and get a real fast spot to potentially put the actual peep I'm gonna use. So first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna cut out this peep because I'm gonna use this peep on the next one, so I don't want to lose this peep. And I will rebag it and use it for future, potentially, if I were to have an issue, cut a string or something. It'd be nice to have this as a backup. So without untwisting anything, I'll set this over here out of the way. So I'm gonna do the backside cable first, and then I'll do the front side cable. So I just do one at a time. I'll take this cable off and then immediately put the next one on. It wouldn't be a bad idea to take pictures as you're doing this, especially if you haven't done many of these, which I hadn't done many of them, so I probably should be taking a picture. But backside cable is on. Now we'll do the front side cable. Pretty straightforward. The strings come out good, went on smooth. Gold looks great with this camo pattern and these cams, and the way I've got the stabilizers here in a second, you'll see. Strings look great. So we're gonna get a speed test on them and then start attaching some more of these accessories on, kind of see where we're at with speed. Okay. $281, $280, and $281. All right. So speed, $281. So the question of the day here, before we get into this too far, is if you're building a bow and you have a budget, you just spend a bunch of money on your bow itself. Now, do you save money with the sight or you save money with the rest? You got to pick one. Do you buy a cheaper rest and a more expensive sight, or do you buy a more expensive rest and the cheaper sight? Let me know down in the comments what you think. At the end of this, I'll kind of tell you my thoughts on this. But what I'm doing here today is I've got this thing pieced together. I want to go through the different parts of it. You know, we talked about Palmetto precision strings. They're awesome. I've gained about 5 feet per second with them. Stretching it out to 100 already. What I'm looking at is I want to get a better sight tape. So I've got UV sight tapes here, and originally I was not going to use UV sight tapes, but what I'm doing is I'm thinking if it were to rain, it might be good to have one of their sight tapes that are kind of that glossy, protective, not gonna get all smeared and smudged. So what I'm doing is I'm taking the one I had that I printed off of Precision Cut, and I'm now dial calipering the 20 to the 100 mark. And now I've got the brake on. I'm going to line up my 20, and I should be pretty darn close if I can get this underneath these pointy pins here. Alright, so now I got their nice pretty sight tape, and I will check it with, you know, that's what we're fixing to go do, is kind of check and make sure everything's lining up. And we should not have any issues with anything smudging or moving. I need to put that stop on there though, so that it'll stop at 20. So if I run it all the way up, it'll stop at 20. It's gonna be hard to do. I think I'm gonna be able to get that down low enough to do that, but it'll be close. So let's go check our sight tapes and talk a little bit about the bow itself and just some of the changes that we put on it from the original bow build to now. All right, so we're gonna try to shoot in the shade here as much as possible. I hope the lighting's not too bad. Biggest upgrade we made was the UV slider 2 on this. I've just always been a little hesitant about them. This one looks like they made it much smaller. A lot of things about it I do like, and I've got a whole video about that, but it's been really good so far out of the gates. One thing I really wanted was all the adjustments. First, second, third axis. Some of my other sites were limited on that. I wanted to be able to have this one and be able to use it for Total Archery Challenge, Shot 3D, and deer hunting. First, I didn't want a single pin. I wanted the horizontal pins so I could do have 20, 30, 40. But this one having indicators and being able to go, all right, it's 20 and 35 and whatever. Now I wish it was like the Spot Hog Boonie, that I could actually just move the pins and get 20, 30, 40, but it's not. So I'm not able to adjust the pins, but I know where the pins are, if that makes sense. And then when I go to Shot 3D or TAC in the spring, I don't have to buy a new housing because I've already got a single pin. I don't want that cluttered housing like I have with my other UV sights. So that's the biggest thing, obviously the most expensive upgrade I've had. I'm rocking the Ultra Rest from QAD. I could do an integrated one. Specifically though, I'm doing this one because I want to run it back far away from the riser as possible, because I cut my arrows down a little bit. When I first made these, they were really heavy, like 470, which way too heavy for what I'm wanting to do. So I cut a couple inches off, and I got as close as I can to not coming off the back of the riser, or at least not getting it on this half out. And that saved some weight, and it required me to have this pulled back a little bit. Kind of like an overdraw, I guess, from back in the day. If you've ever used one of those, let me know. Leave a comment down below. So we lightened those arrows up a little bit. We've got 70-pound strings instead of 66 or whatever the ones that came on it were, the stock ones. So we've added a little more weight to the string, a little more poundage to the bow, a little lighter arrow. I did end up switching to the FMJ half-outs or Podium half-outs with his hardened 100-grain tips. Love them. I have no complaints with them. I actually missed a target a little bit ago when I was sighting in and stuck in the dirt on this rocky mountain. I went and just pulled it out, and it was perfectly fine. So I can't recommend them enough. They are expensive, but they're pretty nice. So I got the UV grip on here as well. Those are getting hard to find. I was fortunate to see somebody on Facebook that had some for sale. I was able to snag one of those up. I did a rattle can spray paint job on this rear stabilizer to try to match the brass cams. Let me know what you think, if I did a good job or not. It was a $5 can of paint and a little bit of time, and I think it turned out pretty good for $5. I've got the Hoyt stabilizer limb legs up front. When you're setting in a ground blind, which is kind of what I got this for ground blind hunting, it is so nice to be able to set the bow down on these legs and have that front stabilizer resting in the dirt, and not have your cam in the dirt, and not have your bow hanging or laying across your lap. Being able to just pick it straight up and go straight to shooting is pretty cool. So let's get to checking these sights a little. Let's check the sight measurements a little bit and see how she's shooting. I know she's shooting great, but let's check the sight tape and make sure it is spot on. One thing that's going to take a little bit of getting used to is I'm used to HHA sights with the dial. You get a bigger gap between the marks on that round dial as opposed to a vertical one. So these are super close together, which makes it hard to be very precise with, I'm shooting 42.5. The HHA, I felt like I could get it more precise and get right between the 42 and the 43. This one, gonna be a little tougher, but I think we'll make it work. Man, this bow aims so good. For 30 inches, it is insane how well it holds. That is right where I was aiming, by the way. Let's see if we can get another one in there. I think those are touching. So 42 is on. Let's see about our coyote friend, which is a little closer. It's 40 even. Money. Gosh, this bow's sweet. All right, I'm getting 48.5. I don't know how well you'll be able to see me over here, but that ought to be pretty close. 48.5 on the deer. Those two are touching, but it's just a touch right. I'm on a little bit of a hill. Maybe that's part of it. All right, so we'll run it all the way back up to 20. Spot on. All right, so here's my thoughts on what you should spend more money on, the rest or the sight. Personally, I mean, maybe it's a little just marketing, I guess. I like a good expensive sight, a movable sight, a sight that's adjustable, a sight that I can, you know, fine tune in, and it stays, it holds through the vibration and the just how rough we are on things. If your sight's not on, it doesn't really matter if your rest is working good or not. Now, you could argue the same thing. If your rest ain't working, your sight don't matter. But I think you can get a good rest. The QAD Ultra Rest, $100. You don't have to buy the $350 integrated rest or any of those. You can get a good one for $100 that works just fine. I've got one of these on my target bow, and it's shooting better than it ever has. So I think you could save some money on the rest, getting the Ultra Rest or the Hunter or whatever. There's one below this one. I think it's the Hunter. You can save some money getting that and then buy you a little better sight. Now, you don't have to buy a UV2. You don't have to buy a dialed. You don't have to buy the Excel driver. Maybe you get the HHA Tetra, which is a good sight. Maybe you get a Spot Hog Fast Eddy, which is a good sight. I'm trying to think of what some of those others like $150 ones are. Buy a used sight. Just make sure it works and you're not getting scammed. I think you can save some money on that and on your rest and get a little better sight. One that you could take to then Total Archery Challenge or Shot 3D, because you can actually move the pin. Things like that are what's important to me. There's no right or wrong answer. I just want to know what you think down below. Just kind of an interesting question that I've been thinking about while I'm out here shooting some arrows. So what I'm doing now, my 20 is on. I just checked my 20, which is my top pin when I'm all the way up top on the indicator at 20. My next pin should be 35, that red pin there in the middle. Should be 35. That's what it was on my precision cut tape. I just slapped a new tape on. It was good with the top indicator pin out to like 50. So we're gonna check this second pin. The problem I have is I think my third pin I can't get down to. I can't get my indicator down to 50 or 52, whatever it's going to end up being. I can only get it down to 45, and at 45 it's hitting too high. So unless I go and like redo some stuff, I'm only going to have a top pin and then a second pin, which is 20 and 35. Pretty big gap. Maybe that's part of shooting, a 281 speed arrow, feet per second arrow. That's just some of the negatives that come along with that. 35 yards using the second pin. That's right where it was aiming. Touch high. But we're all in there. We're definitely killing. Let's see what the coyote. So the coyote is coming in at 32.5. We're gonna use that 35-yard indicator. I'm gonna aim a touch low. I don't really know how low to aim just yet, but we're gonna wing it. Perfect. All right, Mach 30. Man, I love this bow. It is a special bow. I'm gonna be doing a video in the future comparing the Mach 30 and the Mach 33, so be looking for that if that's the kind of stuff that interests you. It'll be coming out, and it's gonna be a good video because they are both fantastic bows. Tighten that up just a little. I feel like I could take this bow to TAC, Shot 3D, and have no problem, you know, having a good shoot, even with a 30-inch axle-to-axle bow. The Palmetto precision strings went on great and tuned up quick, and are tack drivers. Got me about 5 feet per second faster. Bars, stabilizers, I've only got 5 ounces in the back and 4 in the front, so not a ton of weight. I've actually got more weight on my Mach 33, which you kind of think they'd be opposite because this one being so short. The UV Slider 2 complements this so well. It's a perfect sight for this. Obviously, you don't have to spend that kind of money, but it's a perfect sight for this. I love the grip. It definitely helps me with torque. I definitely enjoy that grip. It's a tack driver. I'm gonna be comparing it with the Mach 33. If you hadn't already seen where we build this in less than an hour and try to group at 100 yards within that hour, you need to go check that out. That's a really cool video. Hopefully it's come out before this comes out, but if you haven't, it'll be coming out soon, so check it out then. Either way, great bow. Appreciate you sticking around and watching. Hopefully you're getting ready for deer season. Like, subscribe, stick around. If you're buying an e-bike, use R Woods at checkout at rambobikes.com/RRWoods. Save yourself some money on that. It helps the channel. Check out the Hunt Hungry podcast on YouTube and Spotify. A lot of cool conversations on there, cool content related to deer hunting and archery. So check those out. Check out the Patreon. Lots of cool stuff going on there.